Welcome to You Do You. My name is Mark. So I went to the grocery and I walked by a dollar store from Japan called Daiso. And then I saw these fragrances on the shelf. And when I asked how much they were, it was so shocking. They cost 38 pesos, which is something like 74 cents USD. They're so cheap that I didn't even bother to test them. I have no idea what they smell like. What are my expectations? I'm not expecting much. I mean, Jesus Christ, for 38 pesos, for 75 cents. Do you actually think that there's gonna be a gem here? Of course there's not. Still, this is more like entertainment. For me, I don't think they're gonna be any great, but they're fragrances from Jordache, made in the USA. But you know what? Who knows? Sometimes these things are great. Like for instance, Francesco Smalto became very, very cheap. Not this cheap. Nothing will ever be this cheap. So anyway, I bought the four that were there. Jordache 75. Jordache 75, which is their version of Boss in Motion Ferment by Hugo Boss. Jordache number 15. So these were put on sale, which is why they're 38 pesos from 88 pesos. Still super, super, super cheap. Like, it doesn't get cheaper than that. They probably put them on sale because the boxes indicate an expiration date of January 2022. At least as far as this one's concerned. You know, as we all know, they don't really expire. These things don't really, I mean, sometimes the top would change, but they don't really expire. Next is Jordache 43. Jordache 48. I'll just do them on blotters first. What do I expect from these things? I expect that they'll be chemical, super synthetic. It's a cute vintage bottle though. More tasteful than Montal. Number 75. As the color of the bottle, sorry, not the bottle, the juice indicates, I smell an orange. Musk, of course. How could it not have musk at this price? Okay, it's not bad enough that I will try this on skin. It's a utilitarian scent, of course. It at least makes me smile. Nothing special, of course. Of course, what would you expect? What would anybody expect? But not bad. Not bad. Now, we go to 48. Right, I expect this to be kind of darker, maybe, because of the... I don't think this one's gonna be good. Whoa! Alright, if you smell number 48 from the nozzle, it smells kind of off. If you smell it from the atomizer. But on paper, it's smelling really good. Kind of old, it smells like old school vintage. Woods, greens, it's a fougere. An aromatic fougere. Not bad at all. So far with these two bottles, number 48 beats number 75. It smells old. It smells very old. Which is so good in my book. Like totally barbershop, but not classy barbershop. Like don't expect something like Tsar or something like that. No, not at all. But I will spray it on skin. Now let's go to number 43. Blue, very blue. So number 43 is soapy with a slight bit of powder, at least on paper. Smells fresh, summery. There are slight green aspects which I think might be petitgrain or petit grain. Yeah, it's not the greenness of it. It's not neroli. Not neroli. Definitely not neroli. Maybe verbena, possibly. And last, number 15. Looks like a Tommy Hilfiger thing. Very good. Fresh, but kind of like generic. But at 38 pesos, how could you complain? Actually, you could complain because they take up space. They really do. So even if it's cheap, you know, if it's really horrible anyway, and it adds if it adds nothing to your life, then if it adds nothing to your life, get rid of it. But it's okay. It's younger. This one's younger. Number 15 is much younger smelling than all the others. Alright, number 15 definitely has neroli. Neroli is like a kind of like a bitter green smell without being like galbanumi, kind of bitter. The texture is very, it has a, it's like a leaf, it's like a green, it's a green profile that is bitter and kind of like rough texturally. All right. At this point, number 75 has very quickly turned into something ambery. Ambery and not very good. I'd say it could be used as a utilitarian scent, but not exactly enjoyable. Very 90s. It smells like something from the 90s. And one of the more unexceptional releases from the 90s. But sometimes I'm getting a whiff of something that's like kind of, that just might redeem it. Alright, time to test on skin. I can't spray here because I have Amawatch Opus 7. And finally, 15 here. As you might expect, there really is an alcohol blast, except for 48. 48 doesn't have an alcohol blast at the start. This one certainly does. But it's very watery and cool. Also something floral, but very light. It's a very light floral. And it smells sour. This one does. Sour and floral, possibly rose, possibly geranium. The sourness of 15. The sourness of 15 isn't exactly yuzu, it's not lemon, it's not bergamot, it's vinegar. It might be the grapefruit that's super synthetic and cheap that comes off more like vinegar. If you can stand the vinegary start of it, I'm smelling it now and not so bad. Yeah. It was just vinegary at the start, like maybe just the first minute and a half or something, or maybe 2 minutes. Alright, number 75 is also not so bad on skin. Possibly patchouli rather than tobacco. Sometimes I confuse them. Sometimes. Alright, number 75 isn't so bad, but still, I'll never use it. Like, I mean, if somebody else likes it, then I can see why that person might. But it's just not for me. Even though it's so cheap, it could be, a perfectly utilitarian scent. I still think that there are better utilitarian scents out there. So, goodbye, number 75. Okay. Number 15, and as a cologne, it's not so bad, but it's very light. It's so light that it's almost as if you've applied nothing. The scent profile itself has gotten much better. I mean, the vinegar is gone, and it's not offensive. Like if you really want a super inexpensive, like ultra cheapy for the office, this could do. It's, well, of course, the problem is that it's nearly undetectable. Or I may have to step outside for a different air and see how it smells there. But not bad. After the vinegar thing at the start, right? 48 has a coconut in the base. The same way that Van Cleef and Arpels Tsar has coconut in the base. It's very, very charming. All right, I'm gonna step outside and see how they smell. All right, final thoughts. After 2 hours, what's still kind of fairly strong is their dupe for Boss in Motion. However, I looked at the notes for Boss in Motion, and it's not supposed to have vanilla apparently, but this one really does have vanillin, which is a very cheap ingredient that it's also used in Layton. So among the four, number 75 is still perceivable, but it also happens to be the one that I like least because it's kind of sweet and it really does smell cheap. Okay, I want to look at these fragrances outside the context of how little I got them for. The question for me, as far as number 75 is concerned, is that, like, if this were gonna be given to me for free, am I gonna be happy to accept it? My answer is no. It just smells really too cheap, and even though it's the strongest among the four, the sweetness
is just too chemical. So this one, it'll just take up space. I really don't recommend that you pick it up. However, what it might be useful for is like exchange gifts and things like that. I don't know if you're, maybe it's giftable for little children. They might have fun with the orange is cute. I have to admit. So it might be fun for like 10 years old, for a boy 10 years old and below. Number 48, I would say, is a tropical fougere. There's after an hour, there's a very strong coconut oil note. It kind of is reminding me of like taxi drivers and security guards and bus conductors, that sort of thing. It's something that I've smelt from them before. If you're not a classist and you don't really mind that association, it's something to check out. I wouldn't say it's great, but the opening of 48 is really wonderful. But once the coconut oil note becomes more pronounced after an hour, that's when it started to smell really quite cheap and not really happy. But after 2 hours, the coconut oil note does die down. My problem with the coconut oil note in number 48 is that it kind of smells like um, coconut oil that some people apply on their hair. Like, the manongs and the manangs, they used to do that. Like, instead of gel, like in the old days, that's one of the things that they used to do. So it does have that. So in my head, anyway, there's that association with the manongs and the manangs. But if you can dissociate the smell of this from the manangs, so it's not really bad. It's not really bad. But am I going to use it? Only when I'm alone. Because if I step out wearing this and meet some people, family or friends, they might tease me about smelling like a manong, smelling like a security guard. How did that happen? In all likelihood, because it's inexpensive, it's very probably used as a Christmas gift of some kind to blue collar workers in the cultural context in which I live. But the smell itself is not bad. So if you don't mind the association of this scent profile with blue collar workers, not bad at all. Am I gonna wear it? Only when I'm alone. Now, the two that I can in fact recommend are these two. And this is number one, this is number two. This one, I have no idea what inspired it. It's a very, very mild skin scent that would be wonderful for little children, ages 4 to, I'd say, 12. It's not so much a cologne. It smells so much better than the baby colognes that are offered by Bench, the retail store. If you have a little kid who's asking for his own bottle of perfume, I'm not kidding. This isn't so bad. It has a very, very horrible, horrible start. The vinegary thing that I mentioned earlier. But once, I think it's possible that the vinegary thing, which is really the bad, bad approximation of grapefruit, I don't know if that really persists. I mean, like, because as you know, like, if you've bought cheapies before, give them time and they actually become better. In fact, as far as longevity, these might in fact get better. But for the most part, I'm not really expecting much. I think that there's bound to be skin scents. As a skin scent for a very young boy, I think this is really quite nice. It's not horrid. One that I actually am enjoying is this one with a terribly chemical blue looking thing, but it's not bad. This is the most watery fragrance that I've ever smelled. There's a very, very vague suggestion of fruit, an abstraction of fruit, but even then, I mean, it doesn't come off as fruity at all. It just comes off as really, really watery. Like water, 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 water. It feels cooling and fresh. So if there's one that I will very likely wear in summer without feeling like I have to apologize that I'm wearing, you know how it is. Like, if you're wearing something cheap, sometimes you feel like, am I degrading myself or do I have to apologize to other people? Like, I'm not ashamed. Even if I met up with a niche head, I would proudly wear this because it really is appreciable. The freshness, the wateriness, and it's just really wateriness. It's almost like not perfume. It's almost like not perfume. It's really, really quite nice for 38 pesos. Even if this were 500 pesos, I still would go for it. Even if it were 800 pesos, I still would go for it. It's Jordache number 43. Recommended for fun, for summer. Um, just when you feel like, because even the summer scents, once they get spicy, they get to be problematic. This one is just really watery. Just watery, watery, watery. Quenching. I hope that was helpful. This was fun. They're so cheap. Hope to see you again.